Retirement, a key thing and one of the hot topics today, I think, for anybody, everybody out there, because will I have enough money to retire, or do I have enough money to retire? And we wanted to talk to the expert, certified financial planner, Ray LeVitre, and who's the founder and managing partner of Net Worth Advisory Group and also the author of the book, 20 Retirement Decisions You Need to Make Right Now. Ray, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Hey, thanks for joining me. Really, we're kind of talking, I think, about two groups here. The younger people who are looking at retirement way down the road, and then the rest of us who are staring it in the face, maybe. So let's address the ones who are thinking about retiring, but either not or not taking it seriously. What do you recommend? 20s, 30s, 40s, people staring at retirement maybe several years down the road. What do you say are some of the key ingredients there?
Well, probably the key is to do what you said, and that is to, in fact, take it seriously. And somebody who will actually take it seriously in their 20s and 30s will be, so much the better for it by just doing some real basic things like, go on a web calculator, a web retirement calculator, and plug in your info and see how much you need to be saving. That alone will put you ahead of 90% of the people in your age group. And most likely what that'll tell you is that you need to save at least 10% of your income. Most likely it'll tell you that you need to even ramp that up probably closer to 15% of your income.
And if you start that early, then the compounding, so to speak, can get you to at least a safer retirement, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, someone starting in their early 20s versus early 30s could be the difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's hard to get that information across to a lot of people. And I remember when I was younger, I thought, I'll start tomorrow. I'll worry about it tomorrow. I don't need to worry about it now. But like you said, there's no time like today.
Yeah, and there's really no excuse either from the standpoint of now you can just jump on the web, type in retirement calculator, plug in your info, and within minutes you have an answer of, okay, if I want to retire at 62, I'm going to need to save $10,000 a year, or whatever the number might be.
Sure.
Younger.
And then from that, then how do you know how to save it? I mean, you know what to save, but then how do you find out where to put it?
Perfect question. So for somebody who's working and has a retirement plan at their employer, the best place is in that plan. And sometimes employers will offer matching contributions, so by all means, put in enough to get their match because that's free money.
Sure.
But, of course, that's not going to be enough. You're going to need to save more than that. But the nice thing about that approach is that it comes out of your paycheck before you ever touch it, and consequently it gets saved, and it becomes a real automatic way of getting money where it should be, and that is into a retirement account or a long-term type account.
Right, and you don't miss it. You don't know it's there. It's gone, and suddenly you're building up a little bit of wealth. But then let's say you don't have a 401k. You don't have access to something like that. What can someone do?
Yeah, the next step would be to open up a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. So you would go to go to a brokerage firm, mutual fund company, open an account, and then fund it with, I think you can do up to $5,500 a year if you're younger, and just start doing that, year after year.
Right. But then the other question is, then how do you know where to go? Do you take recommendations from family, friends? I mean, there are a million places you can go.
Yeah, lots of places willing to give you advice out there. I'd suggest finding somebody who's a certified financial planner and somebody who's been in the business for 10 years, and preferably somebody who's getting paid fees as opposed to commissions, meaning they're going to make a little bit at a time over time, as opposed to making a transaction, a big commission right now, and then having no incentive to work with you in the future.
I see. In other words, buying all these different funds or stocks, and then poof, they're gone.
Right. I mean, so yeah, the advisor makes their money and they move on and they leave you behind. You want someone that they make a little bit at a time as you make a little bit at a time, and that way they're always there for you.
Okay, all right. So we get them started. But now I'm staring at retirement in the face, and I'm worried, do I have enough money? How do I know, do I have enough money?
Yeah, really a similar process. So, I mean, the baby boomers are there right now, 10,000 retiring every day. and asking that question: Is my nest egg big enough? And again, it requires just doing some some analysis, plugging the numbers in, saying, hey, here's what I have, here's what Social Security will provide, here's what my pension will bring to the table, if you're that lucky. And after all of that, you'll be able to say, okay, I'm on track for this type of retirement, and if that's enough, great, you could retire, and if that's not enough, then the hard truth is you'll probably have to, keep working a few more years.
Okay. Ray LeVitre is my guest, and founder and managing partner of Net Worth Advisory Group, and he has this book, 20 Retirement Decisions You Need to Make Right Now, and reaching out for all people planning retirement down the road or those staring it in the face. Let's talk about medical expenses. I mean, you're planning for retirement, you think you need this much income, but how do you calculate what you might need medically?
Yeah, it's a little bit of an unknown. We know, of course, that Medicare is going to kick in, and you're probably going to have to buy some Medicare Advantage or Medigap insurance to supplement it. But we don't know what your health is going to be, and if it's going to really, go beyond what's provided by those coverages. So that would be a place where you might say, hey, as I do my planning, I want to make sure that I've got a little bit of cushion in there. Perhaps I'm not planning on spending every penny by the day I die. I'm leaving some cushion in there so that if something does happen, I'm not going to be shorted because I didn't plan for it.
Something catastrophic or something.
Exactly.
What about Social Security in your planning? If someone's not there yet, but they're getting close, what is the optimum to when to take Social Security?
That's a great question, and they really you can look at it in different ways. If you look at it just mathematically and say, okay, I think I'm going to live past age about 83, it would make sense for most people to wait all the way until they're 70 to start taking Social Security. Each year you wait, you get a bigger benefit. The soonest you could take it is at 62. So if you retire and aren't working, you can start taking it at 62. You can start taking it at 62 if you are working, but it wouldn't be very smart. But if you started taking it at 62 and you weren't working, you would get a reduced amount, but of course you would get a 8-year head start. So the question is, at what point does getting a lower amount and having a head start beat getting a higher amount but waiting until 70 to start receiving it? And the answer ends up being about age 83. So you're kind of making a little bit of a mortality bet. How long do I think I'll live? And if you think you're going to, if your family lives a long time, then you're probably going to get more lifetime benefits by waiting than by starting earlier.
You talked about taking it while you're still working, and that's not a good idea. Why isn't that a good idea?
Yeah, it's not a good idea because until you hit your full retirement age, your Social Security benefit actually gets reduced based on the money you're earning. So there's just a little calculation that says for every $2 you earn, you lose $1 of Social Security benefits between ages 62 and your full retirement age.
Okay.
And so if you're earning just a decent wage or what maybe you've been accustomed to earning, likely that's going to deplete the entire amount of your Social Security. So it wouldn't make sense to start if you're not going to actually get anything.
It doesn't make sense at all. And your portfolio then, you're close to or in retirement. What about the balance between stocks and bonds and cash? What do you recommend?
I think, first of all, with the cash component, I would only keep money in cash, so this would be bank money, money market, savings, checking, that you're going to spend in the next 12 months to maybe the next 2 years if you want to really be conservative. And then the rest, the piece in stocks and bonds, I just use a real simple formula. Take the number 110 minus your age, and the result is the percentage of your portfolio that should be invested in stocks. So if you take 110 minus 50, the result is 60. And so that would suggest for a 50-year-old, they probably ought to have at least around 60% of their portfolio in stocks. And for a 60-year-old, that would say probably around 50% in stocks and so forth.
That's an easy formula to follow. Ray LeVitre is my guest and the founder and managing partner of Net Worth Advisory Group. I'm talking about retirement, and he has a book, 20 Retirement Decisions You Need to Make Right Now. What about life insurance? Someone gets up to retirement age, they retire. Do they still need to maintain a life insurance policy?
If you think about it, the life insurance, when you buy it to replace your income typically and to pay off debts if you were to die. If you get to the point of being able to retire, most likely and hopefully your mortgage is paid off, so you wouldn't have to have life insurance to pay off a debt.
Mm-hmm.
And if your nest egg is big enough to sustain your life and your spouse's life, for the balance of your lives, then you don't really need to replace any income because your nest egg now is going to be that income replacement. So hopefully, if you've done a good job preparing, there should be no need for life insurance when you hit retirement because your nest egg is now your life insurance policy.
Plus, the cost of that is astronomical.
Exactly.
As you age, so
exactly
that's a huge load. Well, let's talk about debt for a minute then. Some debts that some of the you recommend 3 debts you should pay off before you retire. So someone's staring at that, and what do you think they should make sure they don't have?
Yes, I would say for sure get rid of all your consumer debt. So that's your car loans, that's your credit cards, just any debt you have on an asset that's depreciating in value.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, get rid of that stuff. If you have to, have a mortgage as you start into retirement, you may or may not have any option. That may just be the way it is. Work to pay that off as quickly as you can. I find that people without mortgages, really the pressure is off when you get to retirement if you have no debt, because that's that much less pressure on the nest egg as far as how much you have to pull out. So we can, guarantee the nest egg is going to last longer if we're not having to take so much out, especially early in retirement.
Right, exactly. Speaking of the mortgage, then there's so much advertising going on about reverse mortgages. What do you think about that?
I think it's a viable product, but one that I would usually say is the one that we use at the end. So let's use our non-retirement resources, our investment resources. Let's use our retirement resources, IRAs, 401k monies, and if we get to the point of only having, the equity in our home and that's it, and Social Security, then I would say at that point if we look to do a reverse mortgage and take that equity out. Nice thing, you get to stay in your house. Any equity left over goes to your heirs. But I just don't think it's necessary to jump into a reverse mortgage if you have other resources.
Let's talk about then, if we summed up for those, let's say, staring at retirement in the face, or they're just entering retirement now, some of those basic rules, like 5 different things that you heartily recommend.
Yeah, so I would say first thing to do is to get a financial plan. I saw actually a couple of studies as I wrote my book that suggested that people with plans had twice as much money as people without plans. So just that process of digging in and getting some structure around your investments and making a plan for what things are going to look like going forward makes a big difference down the road. So definitely do that. As part of that, to put together a portfolio that has some structure. It's not just a hodgepodge of some of this, some of that, but that actually has some rhyme and reason to it. And that's going to be a mix of stocks and bonds, and then within stocks, different types of stocks, large cap and small cap international, and different types of bonds. And then within that, a strategy for what types of bonds do we buy, or what types of stocks or stock funds do we buy. But get a real firm strategy so there's take as much of the guesswork out as possible. I would say also as part of that strategy, have an idea of how that strategy will respond if we have a downturn. So very easy with modern software and technology to say, hey, if I had a 50-50 stock and bond mix and I rode that through 2000 to 2002, or I rode that through 2008, what would have happened? And then the better question is, how would I have responded? And make sure that the portfolio you have is one that if we did have a future downturn, you wouldn't lose any sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be some main things. So have a plan, have an investment strategy, make sure you know the risk associated with that strategy. And then, again, if you're going to hire a planner, hire someone who's a fee-only planner so that you can get some objective advice. And then really stay healthy and enjoy all your work.
And don't keep your money under your mattress.
Yeah, exactly. If you're too conservative, inflation eventually is going to get the best of you.
Yeah, there you go. Ray's book is available. How do we get a hold of your book?
Easiest way would be to go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble bookstores. You can go to our website, networthadvice.com. So a number of ways.
All right. 20 retirement decisions you need to make right now. Ray LeVitre. Ray, very informative. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Andy.